Welcome to the Voices of Survivors with Kathryn Moody. I am your host, Kathryn, and if you're just tuning in, I am a mom of two. I have been through childhood abuse. I've been through an abusive relationship, and really just going through it and going through the cycles of learning how I am a recovering codependent now, and how that really kind of stemmed from the childhood stuff and then propelled me into the abusive relationship that I was in because I didn't know any better. And I'm so excited to have this space now to shine a light and show others that you can go from survival and abuse to thriving and healing. So today I've got the beautiful CJ with me to share her story and message of hope. So CJ, how about you share a little bit about what your experience with abuse is?
All right. Well, my experience started as a child, honestly. I was a kid who was daddy's little girl, and I, was the apple of his eye, and everything was perfect and wonderful. And he doted on me and paid so much attention to me. And not only did I not understand until later on in my life that that wasn't right. Not that, girls can't be daddy's girls, but the way in which he paid attention to me was not the way that you're supposed to treat your children. And his family was a family of abusers. I have three uncles. Two of them went to prison for abusing their own children. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago when I started asking some questions and I started remembering that there were situations that I was put in, and it was like things just started coming back like, holy shit, I was part of that abuse. I never went to court. I never, did any of that stuff, but I just swept it under the rug. I was like, I have to be the good girl. I don't want to tell anybody because then I'll be bad and they'll think it's my fault. So I think it really came to light for me when, I was 14. My dad left the house, left my mom and my three brothers and I to our own devices, and things started to be like normal. We would laugh and we'd joke and we'd have fun. And I started dating this guy. I was 14 years old, and my mom's like, you can't go on dates unless you're in a group. Well, the group of friends were his guy friends. So I went into these situations, went to the movies, went to his house. None of the people in the group were ever abusive to me, but I didn't realize that I was putting myself right back in the same position where I had somebody telling me, what I had to do, how I needed to behave, how I needed to act. I couldn't be around other people. Going through my daytime, or I was an outside salesperson for phones, and I would, get in my car and I'd be on my phone all day long. And when I would come home, he would be in my phone and he'd be like, who's this guy? Who's this? Who's this? Who's this? And I'm like, it's my job. It's all of my people that I'm talking to, their potential clients. And, I was, sleeping with everybody, and I was, doing all the things. And I was like in a space where I'd only dated him in high school. I got married to him. We had our first child my senior year of my college. I had her over spring break, went back to school, graduated. A year later, had my son. And I was like, okay, I just got to settle for this is what it is. Here's a guy who treats me like shit, drinks a lot, is very abusive, can go out and do whatever he wants to do, but I need to be home, and I'm followed everywhere I go when I'm working. And I finally had just had enough. And the aha moment for me was like when I was done and I was like, nope, I cannot do this, is the day that I came home and he was there. And our kids were 2 and 1 at the time. And I told him, I can't do this anymore. I can't be someone I'm not. I can't live in fear. I can't be under somebody's thumb telling me I can and can't do, and getting accused of things that I'm not doing. And he held a knife to my throat in front of our children and told me that if he couldn't have me, that nobody was going to. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And he come from a Catholic family, and we went to church every Sunday and, put on the best dress and the best attitude and the best face. And it's like, his family came from money. And I just decided that I had to leave, but I knew that if I stayed, that I wouldn't be alive and my children would not be alive. So I stayed for another week. I came home from a day of work. He had picked the kids up from daycare, but took them to his parents' house. And we were there, and I said, I'm going to pack my stuff and I'm going to leave. And we ended up having this huge fight over a 22 rifle. I got shoved into the wall and had a scar on my back for the longest time. And I remember getting on the phone and calling his parents. I'm like, you need to come get him because otherwise I'm going to be dead. And I remember his dad saying to me, you took marriage vows in the Catholic Church. Your vows are till death do you part. And if that's what it takes, that's how it is. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? So I literally got out of the house somehow that day. I don't even remember how, because he had parked my car in, thrown my car keys. Somehow I found the extra set of keys to his truck and I drove away. And I literally drove to his parents' house. I said, you need to go get him. You need to help him because he's either going to kill me, our children, or himself. And I know you love him enough that you'll save him. So I did. I left that day and I literally left the clothes on my back. I was not allowed to have my children. His family kept my children from me. I went to court for the divorce. I had a guardian ad litem, which is a lawyer for my children, who stood up in court and said there is no way that this man is supposed to even get visitation unsupervised, let alone custody. He stood up in the court and screamed and called her all these names. And the judge was like, you know, everything that he was saying up until that point was like, I knew that I was in the right because I didn't do anything wrong. I was fighting for my children. I was fighting for my life. And then I saw his dad, his uncle, or his brother leave the courtroom. And when they came back like 10 minutes later, the judge literally looked at his watch and said, oh, it's getting about time for dinner. My wife's going to have dinner on the table and we got to wrap this up. So he totally switched gears, totally sided with my ex-husband, gave full custody to my ex-husband. And I walked out of that courtroom devastated, feeling like a failure, feeling like good never wins. So that's my first go round with it.
Yeah, that's a lot. I know, like, my aha moment with mine was definitely my kids, like the safety and realizing that they were never going to be safe in that situation. That the courts, like, I mean, I got lucky with my situation because he had a criminal record, but so many times the courts side with the abuser because they either have more money or they have other people who don't see it.
Right.
And a lot needs to change the court system.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work.
No.
And that's like a lot of the reason why a lot of people end up staying in abusive relationships is because they're worried about what's going to happen with the kids or not being able to protect the kids if they lose custody or have to share custody. And it's rough. I mean, it's better to be alive and have the chance to get them back, but every situation's a little bit different. So coming out of that situation, what would you say helped you heal the most?
Actually, I think what helped me heal the most, and a lot of people are going to be probably triggered by this, but about 6 months after I left that relationship, I found somebody who was like, He was everything that I ever thought that love was supposed to be. He was like attentive and kind and caring and listened to me and, told me I was beautiful and did all the right things, said all the right things. And I literally felt like I was this queen walking on water. And it didn't take away the hurt from all that, that had happened, but I was like, this is what it's supposed to be. And we always joked around like, we're soulmates. And I used to think that's bullshit. That's not possible, whatever. But here was this guy who like literally accepted me for everything that I was and didn't judge me, didn't, have any ill will towards me or anything. And I was like on cloud nine. Yes, the baggage from all the other stuff came with, and that was a struggle because he had a previous marriage in his past too. But it's like, I was in like, oh, love conquers all, and it's true, and it's the fairy tale. And then because I hadn't dealt with all of that shit, I brought that with me. And it festered and it grew and it became this thing where like, even though he was telling me that he loved me and that I was beautiful, I didn't feel that. I fucking hated myself. I felt like a failure. I felt like, who the hell am I? I lost my children. Everybody walking down the street is looking at me going, oh my God, loser. She lost custody of her children. And then my husband and I at the time, we had 3 more children. He had 2 from his first marriage, and I had reconciled, and my kids got to the age where they could choose. And they're like, this is ridiculous. We don't see that you're this horrible person. So they kind of figured stuff out on their own. So, we were all this family, but I literally was destroying the marriage that I was in, even though it was wonderful and great. And here's this person who totally, had my back on everything. I destroyed a 21-year marriage because I couldn't love myself. I blamed myself. I didn't deal with the stuff. I took accountability that it was my fault and that there was something wrong with me. Sorry.
No, yeah, I totally get that.
Sorry about that.
Oftentimes, like abusive behaviors, they become things that we picked up. And I mean, that's the sad truth with most abusers is it's something that they've picked up and it's a learned behavior.
Yeah.
So they pass on and the cycle continues.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was one of those things where, I destroyed that because I didn't love myself and I didn't deal with it. And I felt like I didn't, even though I did go to court and I fought for my children, I felt like I did not fight for them as hard as I could have. And so I ended up getting divorced twice. So, there in my head is like, oh shit, you're a failure. You failed 2 marriages. You failed, now 5 children, well, 7 with his 2. What is wrong with you? And I took on all that. Like it was all on me. Like I did something wrong and I own my parts for that. But what I own in my part for that is that not healing from the first time, not healing from the childhood abuse and, stepping up and telling somebody, not making sure that I was okay after that before having the audacity to get into a relationship and get married and take that with me. And then, not healing from that before I jumped into another relationship. Yes, it was a 21-year marriage, but I didn't heal my stuff. So I was accountable for bringing all that crap with me and not being able to give myself the love that I needed in order to be able to accept that love from someone else on a genuine level.
Yeah, that does bring up a really good point. I actually saw a quote earlier this morning about that, how if we don't heal the stuff that attracted us to the original abuser in the first place, then we're just going to keep doing and attracting the same people. Same demon, different person.
Exactly. I think
and repeating the cycle.
I think the key to that is that so many people jump into marriage or relationship expecting that person to fix you, to heal you, to be the person, the soft place to land, that's going to pick you up and carry you off into the, the rainbows and unicorn world. It's not. Yeah. It's, no matter what you go through, I think for me, it's owning my part in it, owning my part of not being able to stand up for myself, not realizing that was wrong, not willing to have, the trust in myself to tell somebody else or keep telling somebody until somebody finally believed me.
Yeah. Yeah. That comes up a lot. And one thing that I've had to do is take radical responsibility for my own part. as well as because a lot of times in the abuser abusive situation, it is that push and pull of one wanting to fix the other,
Right.
or wanting to be fixed by the other.
Right.
And it's like, no, we can't fix anybody else but ourselves. And nobody else can fix us if we're not doing the work on our own.
Exactly. And I think for me, it's the victim mentality. You know, I'm not negating anybody's situation or anything anybody else has went through, but like you said, you have to take personal responsibility. You made a choice to be there. You made a choice to stay for whatever reason that is. But when you own that you made that choice and you make peace with that, and then you learn how to heal and, you know, move past that, that's so empowering for you as a woman to be like, okay, yes, I chose to stay in that situation. I may have not had any, you know, choices in the beginning. It was something that I went into not knowing all this, you know, crazy that was there. But the thing of it is that now I've been in that, you know, I made that decision. I own that. I need to figure out how to fix, you know, myself, to love myself enough to not ever make that decision again.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your empowering message. And I'm so excited for what's to come with this. Just know, for anybody watching, if you're still in the thick of it, you're not alone. And there are resources and support out there. I've got a resource list that I'm going to drop in the comments, as well as a form you can fill out if you feel called to share your story. Or if you have any questions that you need support, you can do so through that anonymously as well. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see